iRacing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Welcome one, welcome all to a SimSpeed TV presentation here on the iRacing Esports Network. We've had a hard slog of a season in the Geodesic GoPro Championship, many variations and races, many battles, many dramas, many tears as well. But we're here at the final round of the season at Daytona to crown the champion in both classes. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box tonight is David Haynes. David, it's time to bring things to a close for Season 2 of the GoPro Championship, and we are at a cathedral of racing in American history to do it.
Yeah, g'day Reese. I can't think of a better place than Daytona. I mean, this is a fantastic sports car venue here with many, many decades of history. We've got our GT and our GS classes, GT being made up of GT3 machines and GS being made up of the Porsche Cayman GT4. And both of those classes of cars always put on a good show here at Daytona.
Yeah, they certainly do. Qualifying is on at the moment, and we're deciding the starting order for this round at Daytona, but the important thing about this particular round is we are going to be crowning the champion in both classes. It will be decided here today. And in terms of the championship standings, if we could take a look at the GT class first, we have 3 contenders for the title in the GT class. It is Racine Fazui, Dominic Olivier, and Robert Harris with 50 points for a win. They are the ones in range, and it could go either way. Harris has managed to take pole, Fazui has qualified second, and Olivier has qualified fourth in GT, so certainly some variations to be seen there.
Certainly a case of anything could happen, and as Murray Walker likes to say, often does in motor racing. So yeah, never count yourself out, but never believe that you've got it in the bag either.
Exactly right, and we're seeing that it is only those 3 that are in contention. So despite some very strong seasons from Adam Crane and Zach Plummer, they are unfortunately unable to assail the 50 points if they win and the 3 in front of them retire. But certainly going to be a fun fight. In the GS class, on the other hand, things look little different because Brian Lockwood there at the very top of the standings, David, he is unable to make it for tonight's racing. So Andrew Caron, 30 points behind in second. What he has to do is finish third or higher to take the championship lead and the title from Brian Lockwood.
Indeed, and the way it stands right now, Caron's at the top of qualifying for his class, so he, I think, at this point, is just looking to get to the end of this race. He's got the pace for the podium for sure. That's what he needs to do.
Yeah, exactly right. And with recent updates, having made some tweaks to the way the Porsche Cayman handles and the way the tires work, certainly they've got a bit of extra work to do with this round. But Daytona International Speedway is a track that, as we've said, is an excellent place for a final race of the season, but an excellent place for drafting as well. It is the only combined road and oval course that we visit this season, and there is an awful lot of long straight line sections around here. Right there, this left-hand turn into the bus stop chicane on the back stretch is going to be one of the places where races can be made or lost. It's a part of the circuit where the grass is very close to the curbs. You're still maintaining a lot of high speed, and it's a very quick direction change as well that defines your entire run down to the start-finish line. That is going to be one of the places where we see a lot of mistakes being made, and the GT class, David, is going to have to be very careful passing the GS into the faster corners.
That's always true, always the case. I think Daytona is a little easier than, for example, Mid-Ohio, where we were not long ago.
Oh, yeah.
It will definitely be how they do today. Strategy-wise, one thing to keep in mind, I think, today is that this is the longest race of the season so far. We are expecting a pit stop out of both classes of car.
Yeah, that should be significant because we have noticed the last few rounds that the GS class has almost been able to go the entire race on one tank. So you have to be a bit careful with how the fuel works. Well, qualifying is one and done, and I think it might be time to take a look at the pole sitter lap in our GT class because Robert Harris has managed to bring home a sensational time, 1 minute 43.632. That is 2/10 ahead of championship rival and championship leader Racine Fazui. And it was all about the run out of the bus stop for Harris and managing to get a little bit of draft from the car in front of him as well. The important thing about the draft, David, is that it comes into effect most efficiently when you're within about a second of the car in front of you. So Harris had a good gap here to start things off for his lap.
He certainly was in a great position here. You see how hard he dives into turn one off the banking for the first time. Robert Harris, also one of those drivers with the Audi R8. They had their free choice in the GT class category, and there's no additional balance of performance or balancing for this round. It's just the cars as they roll off the trailer.
Exactly right, and a very smooth exit from the first horseshoe. Very misleading turn. Very difficult to get the line right through there. You can say that for many turns around this circuit, especially this horseshoe. Open on entry, very tight in the middle, and then opens up again on exit. You have to really work at the rotation of your car, make sure it's stable on throttle if you want to be successful around here. Power application, very important out of this turn, coming onto the oval as well. In third gear, coming up to fourth, and then fifth again, and onto the banking for the first time in the lap. Only going to have a chicane to go other than these banked turns, but much easier said than done. Coming up to almost V-max in the draft of the Geodesic Audi up ahead. I'll tell you what, Harris really timed this well because he's got that draft all the way down the following straight. And he's going to carry a lot of overspeed. That is how you qualify on pole at Daytona. At this point, the lap is effectively over.
He's going to have to go to the high side though, but he has wound up all of that speed. and Robert Harris coming to the line here, and this was enough to put him on pole. It was a good lap. It was very, very tidy, especially through the infield, but he was also in the right place at the right time, and that's going to be critical in the race as well.
Yeah, exactly. Harrison, the Team Tortuga Audi, is going to have to look over his shoulder quite a bit when the green flag flies, because he is going to be the one punching the hole in the air. And now, of course, the GT class, not the only class taking part today. We have the Porsche Cayman 718 GT4s in our GS class, and Andrew Caron was the man who qualified on pole in the GS class, and it was incredibly close, David, looking at the timesheets, because Shinya Michimi and Marcus Deck both in the 52.7s with Andrew Caron, only 0.02 of a second separating them all. So we're in for a very good top three battle in GS as we now take a look at Caron's lap.
That might be Marcus Deck in front of him here as well. So, as you mentioned, incredibly close in this class. Caron, a little bit of gamesmanship here as he comes to start his lap, and fair enough, because it ended up being that close that it absolutely matters.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Well, he starts the lap through the tri-oval, and the 718 GT4 has ABS, but a lot less downforce than the GT3 cars that comprise our GT class here. So it was a tentative move into turn one for Andrew Caron, just trying to keep the speed and the momentum up as much as possible. A nice wide entry into the hairpin. Good amount of rotation in the mid-corner and getting on the throttle very nicely as well. And crucially, he's got a car in front of him in the form of Marcus Deck for the straights again. So it looks like pole position in both of our classes determined by the I guess, serendipity of positioning your car in exactly the right place behind another.
Yeah, absolutely important there, but it wasn't a massively long session. It was a 15-minute session for each class, so being in the right place, the gamesmanship about who leads ended up being very, very important. And you have to imagine, if this is where Marcus Deck set his best lap, he'll definitely have the pace in the race to take it to Andrew Caron.
Yeah, he certainly will. Well, we continue to take a look at how Caron navigates the bus stop, because this is going to be a very critical corner in GS. Nice, easy entry, keep it tight, use as much of the curbs as you can, and that was about as perfect as you could get for Andrew Caron. And he has a beautiful draft just to make things a little bit better. Ultimately, it only managed to put him on pole by 0.02 of a second, though, as we've said. In second place in qualifying is Shinya Michimi, the Japanese-American IMSA and Super GT driver, and Marcus Deck, which you can see ahead of Andrew Caron there, has managed to put himself in third place. But that is the end of Andrew Caron's pole lap. Very well executed, I have to say.
Again, it was just tidy, which seems very, very critical here at Daytona. There's no crazy elevation changes around here. What there is high speed, a bit of banking, and then some tight, deceptively difficult infield corners like you mentioned.
Yes, exactly right. Well, we've only got a minute and a half left in this qualifying session as the driver's briefing continues, but man, we've got a 1.5 hour race coming up for you on the iRacing Esports Network. And there's going to be an awful lot of drafting, an awful lot of championship battling to come here in the Geodesic GoPro Championship.
A very rich prize pool, not just for the championship, but for today as well, Reese.
Yes, exactly right. Not only do we have our usual big sponsorship from GoPro. Thank you very much for your support of this series. A GoPro Hero 7 is going to be the prize for the champions in both classes, but we also have a button box to give away here tonight. It's going to be quite interesting to see who exactly gets it. It's going to be... We're still waiting on an exact particular reason for giving the prize, but Pro Street Sim is providing 2 button boxes that we're going to be giving away tonight. Thanks, of course, to Pro Street Sim for their support of this final round. Man, I'm really looking forward to seeing who is going to get that at the end of the night. We do have a driver that's already been selected to get one of them for the most improved driver from Season 1 to Season 2, but we're going to wait to reveal
We're
that.
tight-lipped, aren't we? We're very tight-lipped.
We are very tight-lipped, but I think we will all be in agreement that the recipient of this most improved driver award is a very deserving one indeed. But man, it's great to see the amount of support for this championship from sim hardware manufacturers. Pro Street Sim coming up with the goods.
Yep, indeed. I'm looking at that prize for most improved, and it does look like a very, very beautifully finished, very, very useful sim racing dash. So it's not going to me, I'll tell you that much, but I wouldn't be upset if it was.
Yeah, exactly. Most improved driver going to be receiving a dash, and the button box is going to go to the still to be decided recipient from this round. But there's been a giveaway at just about every round this season, which just goes to show, it's not just about the championship fight. It's not just about winning races. If you just compete in this series, you have the opportunity to win something.
Yeah, I mean, we've had, I think, cash prizes for least incidents. We've had randomly raffled cash prizes. We've obviously got some other little prizes and things. And I think it's great to have a big end of season goal that, is worthy of people putting in a big effort and, racing hard. It's also cool just each round to have a little something. And that's an awesome job, I think, that the Geodesic guys have done, getting people together, getting them behind this championship and supporting it. It's made every fortnight very interesting.
Certainly has, and we do have some news direct from the horse's mouth. The button box is being given away, raffled, and the candidates are the top 5 in each class. So we are going to have an element of mystery coming out of the checkered flag here tonight. Can't wait to see how this is decided and who the top 5 are going to be, because, I mean, the finishing order in both classes has been an absolute mystery every single round so far. So it really could be anyone.
It's been decided on the last lap of the race enough times. I think we saw someone hit coming to the white flag from mid-Ohio, and again, with a 90-minute race ahead of us, a pit stop required in both classes. It is not over until it is over tonight.
Certainly isn't. And now we've ticked over into the race session, so it's time to bring you the grid. Here's the GT class grid. Well, Robert Harris taking the pole position by 2/10 from Racine Fizui. That is an excellent run for Robert. With Johan Boyson putting his McLaren in 3rd, maybe we can see him on the podium like we did all the way back around 2 at Barber. Dominic Olivier is the driver fighting behind Racine Fizui in the championship. He's going to start from 4th. Jesper Drulicka and Tyson Meyer making his return to the series. He was the leader of the championship in the early rounds, but decided to take a break in the middle of the season. He's back for the last round. Aaron Ackles and Zach Plummer on the 4th row, with Adam Crane and Jason Gotter rounding out the top 10. We have 16 GT cars here tonight, with Anderek Gober, Lee Overton, Chris Uglietta, and Garrett Thompson and Mark Noski rounding out the 17 cars in this class here today. Now it's time for the small but still very close GS grid.
Yep, they all fit on one screen, but that has not stopped them from putting on some great racing this season, some last lap battles, and this is your order for them. Andrew Caron on pole, like we saw, just the finest of margins ahead of Shinya Mashimi, who is then even more narrowly ahead of Marcus Deck. So that is a mouth-watering prospect amongst those 3. And then don't count out the rest of our grid. Graham Sanders in 4th, John Botifer in 5th, Jeff Sexton in 6th, Luke Watercheck in 7th, Sam Holden 8th, and David Browning 9th.
Yeah, so less than 10 cars here tonight in GS, but certainly we're going to have an excellent race considering how close the times are at the front. There are the weather conditions. It's a nice cool track here in the late afternoon, early evening conditions. So there's going to be a good amount of grip available to the drivers when they get their tyres up to temperature, but it's getting them up to temperature that's going to be the hard part. Daytona doesn't have many turns for a circuit as long as it is. You spend a lot of time going in a straight line, so getting these tyres up to temperature going to be a challenge.
Certainly will be. We don't have the full parade lap either. They're just coming through the bus stop now, and then they will get racing. As you can see, lights already off the pace car. We are moments away from getting this thing underway to wrap up Season 2.
Yeah, we certainly are. The iRacing pace car leading our GT field through Oval 3 and 4. A magnificent sight, this Daytona International Speedway, built in the 1950s in Daytona Beach, Florida, and it's considered one of the homes of American motor racing, and for good reason. Well, now Robert Harris is going to be the one to lead them away off the start. Question is, when is he going to go? Because you have an awful long time after the pace car pulls into the pits before you actually cross the start-finish line. Here we go, pace car is in. Harris decides to go early. We are racing for the final round of the Geodesic GoPro Championship Season 2. It's a great start from Robert Harris as they go side by side behind him. Johan Boyson trying to take Racine Fazui on the inside into turn 1, and he's going to get him. But can Fazui maintain the momentum around the outside? He's going to go side by side here. He wants this championship, and he's going to grab it from Boyson. Yes, but Drelica going to try and follow him through, but an otherwise clean start in our GT class as the GS class is now away.
Caron leading Deck, leading Mashimi. So Deck's gone and grabbed a position off the start here, and as you can see, they are absolutely still bottled together with our Porsche Caymans in this division. And good job, looks like Graham Sanders in fourth, sticking with those top three who we know are so quick. Oh no!
Oh, yes, but Drelica on his roof. So
I didn't have lap on my bingo card.
Yeah, goodness
But that
me.
is unfortunate to see so early in this race. He is stuck. And he'd work his way up to third. This is the replay. Did he do it to himself, or was he helped?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, cold tyres at McLaren. So tail happy.
Oh.
And that
was so close to just
incident.
wiping out Racine Fazui, eh? That was incredibly close. We could have had championship over in our GT class right then. Big thanks to Building Optimization Systems for support on the replays, but there, oh my goodness, how much of a fright do you need on lap 1? Racine Fazui's championship almost completely wiped out right there. He does not want a repeat of what happened at Barcelona when a lapping car outbraked him and took him out of what was a very dominant lead. Either way, it's lap 1 complete. Up the front, Robert Harris manages to get a 1.5 second gap over Racine Fazui, who is being chased down by the geodesic pair of Dominic Olivier and Johan Boyson.
We've been not so subtly cheering for those McLarens all season long, and it's a shame to see one of them out so early, but it's good to see Boyson. I think this is certainly a track where the advantages of the McLaren can make up for the flaws of the McLaren.
Yeah, certainly. The McLaren is one of the drivers that, oh, there's the advantage, the flame exhaust. That's how you know the McLaren is the most premium car in the GT3 class on iRacing. Boyson certainly can use the car's elements to his advantage here. A lot of long straights and big acceleration zones that you can put that twin-turbo V8 to good use. Meanwhile, for 6th place, Adam Crane and Zach Plummer. These guys have been fighting each other all season, and they'll be fighting for lower reaches in the top 10 in the GT class championship standings. It has been an excellent run throughout the season from the Action Sim Sport Audis. They've shown a good amount of potential, but have been involved in some incidents that have put them in positions that they may not necessarily deserve. But Zach Plummer and Hayden Gober have really been working hard in those green and black Audis to stake their claim in this series. In the slipstream of the Mercedes, Adam Crane actually starting to catch up now to the back of Tyson Meyer just up ahead. So this is going to be battle for the final position in the top 5.
3 wide behind this. I've been watching this. Chris Uglietta and those around him here, Garrett Thompson, Mark Noski. A lap ago, they were 2 wide, 2 deep in a Roman box formation coming across the line everywhere up and down this field. Daytona is doing what it does, the draft being very strong out of the bus stop and towards the start-finish line.
Yeah, goodness me, down at the bottom of our GT grid, it's quite the fight. Bit of a scuffle happening at the moment now between Noski, Uglietta, and Lee Overton just behind these guys. Noski managing to lunge forward a little bit better in the braking zone, but taking that tighter line into the horseshoe, that gives the more straight line exit and a little bit of an advantage to Uglietta, but you can't really take advantage of it there. We got some side-by-side in GS class now. Sam Holden and John Botifer coming into the left-hander here. Not one of the places that you want to go side-by-side, and you have to switch over to the other side of the circuit there. It's very narrow. Not much you can do to modify your line. It looks like that's either a move completed or a defense completed from Sam Holden.
Yeah, I'm seeing Sam Holden up 3 positions potentially, so he's definitely moved up ahead of Botifer somewhere across this race.
Here's Adam Crane in the draft of Tyson Meyer for 5th place. Has to switch to the outside here, and they're going to go side by side across the stripe. Have a look at Crane's momentum that he's been able to carry out of that slipstream. The Mercedes working very well for him in the straight lines here at Daytona. Recent balance of performance adjustment for the Mercedes. Minimum weight has been decreased by a few kilos, so not only does he have a bit of extra light weight, but he's also got to deal with the downshift from 3rd to 2nd. That's been an issue for Mercedes drivers since the last season build came out. You shift down from 3rd gear to 2nd gear, and there's an awful lot of a kick from the car that can send you spinning around. The drivers have to be careful of that coming into the hairpins if they're driving the Mercedes.
Well, he's managing it just fine right here. One of a couple cracking little scraps through the field, and again continues for the GS class cars. John Botifer is in that big bone sandwich, or the big bone sandwich is the bread for the.
Yes, indeed, for the purple jelly filling, you could say. It's getting quite interesting here between these 3. John Botifer right in the middle of Sam Holden and Luke Wojtaszek. And Wojtaszek has really caught up to these guys in the last few corners. Remember, we saw Holden and Botifer fighting exactly this time last lap, so not over between these 3. Bit of a wider exit initially from Holden, but he puts the power down very nicely and scythes his way onto the oval again. Not going to be able to carry enough momentum to break the draft, though. A little bit of headlight flashing. Bit cheeky there from Luke Wojtaszek. We'll see if these tactics here at Big Bone pay off.
Yeah, we definitely will. They're most populous in the GS class. They got 3 of them, as you see from this camera angle, that I am very, very fond of. And of course, we're still early in the run for these guys, a little bit wide from Holden through the middle of the corner. You know, different starting tyre pressures are possible. It might be the case that Botifer is just getting into the rhythm a little bit deeper in the stint. He's going to move up 1 spot, but then Holden's going to be right back in the draft.
Yeah, wasting no time getting behind the bumper of Botifer, and he's actually managing to maintain the momentum. Despite that ever so tiny little draft that he picked up. He's going to be on the outside into turn 1 though, which can be a disadvantage. So Botifer is going to go on through and fire it straight for the inside as well. No chance for Holden to get through, and Holden actually making a slight mistake in the turn and holding up his teammate. Meanwhile, the top 3 is on. We're hearing from our director Jay Kennedy, Andrew Caron has made a mistake, so Looks like Marcus Deck and Shinya Michimi really chasing him down now for the win. Remember, all Caron has to do is finish in the top 3 and he takes the championship from Brian Lockwood. He cannot afford to make any mistakes here.
You can see Graham Sanders also trying to stick with this top 3, and he's just, I think, tantalizingly within the toe. He's not going to want to give that up. That is so important here. Caron, you don't want 4 cars on that lead train.
Nah, certainly not. But Caron has no one in front of him, no one to draft off. He is managing to keep a gap to Marcus Deck that doesn't allow him to come within striking range in the braking zones, but that's only one element of it. Easier said than done. It's a clean line through the bus stop for all 3 of them, but it looks like Caron might have got a slightly worse exit, because here comes Marcus Deck in the draft. And Marcus, I think, one of the most unlucky drivers this season. He has been in the running for wins in the GS class all season, but has taken nowhere near as many as he arguably deserves. But there we go, into the lead for Marcus Deck, and Andrew Caron will have to cross the line in second for the second lap in a row. Oh my goodness, that's Dominic Olivier, 3rd place in the championship. No, 2nd in the championship. He's been involved in an incident, and we have a safety car. That's with Zach Plummer for Action Sim Sport. That is a big incident. We're going to have to take a look at that one.
We have the time to do so as well. So Olivia and Plummer, the cars we've seen damaged. And this is how I thought it happened. Olivia's looped the rears, maybe that 3rd to 2nd downshift you mentioned, and the rejoin there has clipped Zach Plummer, sent him for 1 loop, and put a bit of damage on that car. Plummer's fortunate to have landed back on his wheels again, I guess, but still a bunch of damage. Here he is approaching the corner and just...
And I think he'll be absolutely fuming from that one, because one of the things that is the worst at Daytona is a bad re-entry coming at 90 degrees to the track. Obviously, Olivier had to make a decision quickly in the moment, and he did have to get the car going again, but unfortunately, just mistimed it, and in came Plummer. That is a huge shame for both of those guys, but it looks like it might just take Olivier out of the running for the championship if he can't claw something back. He has a chance to with the safety car.
Certainly. So I'm looking for where that safety car is going to back up our whole field, but I think even in our GS class, it's probably too early to pit and get to the end, especially Daytona, at much higher fuel consumption than Barber or Mid-Ohio or even Montreal for that matter. So yeah, I wonder who we might see pit right now other than the obvious. Plummer getting some damage fixed potentially. Everyone else, I think, if they're still aiming for a one-stop strategy, this is too early.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but it's certainly going to give them an opportunity to save a bit of fuel, make their initial stint of this race extend a bit. And remember, the timer is still running as we are under caution as well, so it's a bit less racing mileage for everyone, and a bit of an opportunity to extend the stint. And maybe shorten it a little at the end even. This offers up a little bit of variation in the strategy, allows drivers to otherwise get themselves into a good position. We'll see who takes advantage of that. Our field has closed up completely once again for the first time since the initial pace lap, and the pace car is going to stay out for at least another lap after this one. It's a very long pace lap here at the Daytona road course, and an awful lot of time spent just coasting.
Tell you who's been a big mover in our GT class. Adam Crane has gone from 9th on the grid to rolling around in 4th right now. Sure, he's obviously been helped by Olivier going for a spin and maybe picked up a spot off Plummer as well, but he's one of our big movers. Same to Jack Anderek, who's up into 6th. So there's been a bit of a shuffle of an order in that class. And I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, that makes sense to me as well, because, what it takes to race well at Daytona is a bit different to what it takes to bang in the best qualifying lap. And that makes it different to some of the other circuits.
Certainly does.
Take a
And have
look
a
at
look
this.
at that. Yep, everyone's coming in. Well,
Not reading my mind.
oh, were they reading the opposite of your mind? Because I think we initially predicted that barely anyone would come into the pits, but initially, it seems everyone has decided, no, we're going to go for it.
Except
Tyson Meyer, on the other hand.
Jason Gotter, and Garrett Thompson, the three that stay out. Different story in GS. Marcus Deck and Andrew Caron, first and second, have stayed out. Behind them, Mashimi, Sanders, Browning, and Holden have pitted. So all of the big bone cars on the lane, but first and second staying out.
Okay, that's going to be interesting for sure. That promotes Jeff Sexton into third in the GS class. So with him taking the start right behind Deck and Caron, certainly Jeff Sexton having the potential to make his mark on this series, as he's been threatening to do since he started racing in it.
Noticed something interesting for our GS class contenders is typically their strategy in these races is just a splash of fuel to get them to the end. And that's what Mashimi, Sanders, and Holden have done. But Botifer, Wodacek, and Browning have taken this opportunity under yellow to put a new set of tyres on, which is rare that we see a tyre stop in these races. But, 90 minutes, they had the opportunity under the safety car. They were a bit further back in the pack. Why not? And also, cold tyres, fresh tyres, much nicer on one of these rolling safety car restarts where you get to go around for half a lap, warm them up a little bit more before we get underway than right at the start or a green flag stop.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll be looking forward to seeing how these guys cope, but they're a long way behind the field that are forming up here. And the lights are off on the pace car, so we're likely going to be getting a start very soon here with, very mixed pack. We got Tyson Meyer, who's going to be taking the start for this particular stint, followed by Jason Gotter and Garrett Thompson, and then we have our GS class leaders. So this is not the greatest position for our former GT class leaders to be in. They have the top three in GS right in front of them, right off the line.
They're going to be hoping to maybe clear some of them before turn one. Very much possible from where you launch on the restart towards turn one. We are missing two GT class cars, though.
Yeah, we are. Olivia and Plummer have not returned to the racetrack, so both of them with very heavy damage, and I wouldn't be surprised if either of them retires out of that, because it was a very big hit and going to be very hard to fix all of that and get back out on the track in a competitive position. So we are -2 for now in the GT class, but we're going to start racing again in a few moments' time. The pace car comes into the pits, and when is Tyson Meyer going to decide to go? He's leaving it, and now away he goes, and it looks like Jason Gotter didn't quite get the memo at the start. He's almost had the jump on him by Garrett Thompson. They're going to go side by side into turn one, and through goes Robert Harris past our GS leaders. They're all stuck on the inside here. Jeff Sexton running a little wide and balking Adam Crane. Oh, Johan Boyson almost getting into Marcus Deck in turns 2 and 3. Very tight section of the track, and Sexton finding the grass a bit there too. This is a very messy start for the drivers behind them in the GT class. Adam Crane is going to make his way past here. 3 wide in the back section. No. Caron, Andrew Caron. No. This is exactly the opposite that he needed. He does not need to be beside the track, having been turned around going 3 wide on a restart.
You just felt your heart in your mouth when they went 3 wide there. Andrew Caron, we said, just needs a top 3 finish here to get the championship, and that still early, but is not what he needed, precisely not what he needed, and it undoes everything that he had in his pocket from not pitting under that caution. He's now behind cars that have made a pit stop.
That is a big shame there for Andrew Caron, but fighting hard for current third in GT between Jason Goddard and Garrett Thompson. Goddard defending into the chicane, but getting a slightly worse exit. And this is going to give a lovely double draft to Robert Harris and Johan Boysen behind. Remember, effective first and second right there. And race control, as we go to a building optimization systems replay, is making saying that this incident is under review, and Adam Crane's going to be under investigation for that, because you just saw he bumped Sexton into Caron.
Did he? It looks like
Maybe.
Crane held his line.
Looked a
I
little
mean,
bit.
you were always expecting tears 3 wide in the infield there.
Well, race control is investigating Crane for it, so I'm not...
Crane got balked by Sexton a couple times trying to get through, and then eventually he had to go somewhere.
Yeah, he had to, but I'm not quite sure how that's going to turn out.
Super
we have
move
a
from
battle,
Boysen
though.
here.
Yeah, big super move, managing to get himself to the front of this train, and crucially, that's put 2 cars between himself and Robert Harris. Harris has not been able to get by Gotter and Thompson.
Tyson Meyer trying to skip away a bit. This is second on back. Boysen's gone and leaped a handful of them here. And I think that's just the McLaren being a little bit more comfortable right at the top end. You see here Harris gets, good drive off the corners. Car accelerates up well, he's getting alongside here, but then all the lights on the dash illuminated, revving it all the way out in 6th gear. Maybe it just runs out of puff a little bit. He's going to nab Thompson there, so Harris gets 1 spot, but just doesn't seem to have that straight line bullet effect that Boysen has in the McLaren.
Yeah, well, he might get another position here because Jason Goddard running over the grass. It ruined his exit from the bus stop, but there's also a chance it can give you a slowdown penalty. That hasn't happened for Goddard, so Mr. Harris is going to find his way through here. Goddard letting him go on the inside. He knows that the overspeed is too great to overcome, so Harris finally by both of them, and he can resume his chase of Johan Boysen. But Jason Goddard, a bit of a problem for him in the mid-corner. Slight bit of oversteer. He's lost the position to Thompson.
Yeah, hasn't lost too much, but did lose out that position there. Here they go in GS class. Sexton looking down the inside of Machine. Oh, very deep from Machine. Has the ABS just kicked in there and prevented him from turning into the corner? Was he in a little too hot? That is less than optimal, but at least he didn't loop it.
Yeah, side by side though here for, careful. John Botifer is being harassed by the 2 big bone cars once again. Going side by side into the hairpin, that's something that you don't want to see in your mirrors. Botifer has been holding off so many advances in this race. He's still got Wojciech and Holden behind him. 2 big bone cars swapping positions in the pit cycle. We got some news from race control about the incident that took out Andrew Caron, and of course, David, you expressed your doubt that Adam Crane was responsible, and race control is agreeing with you. No further action racing incident, but Andrew Caron, it'll do nothing to assuage his anger at what's happened.
So Caron running last in class for the minute. Last lap, he's 2 seconds faster than Browning. He's 2 seconds faster than Holden. He is 12 seconds away from his class lead, I think. So that's with more than an hour left. Not insurmountable that we could see Caron on the podium. We do believe everyone in front of him still needs to make 1 more pit stop to get to the end.
We'll have to wait and see for the permutations of that. Meanwhile, Adam Crane, who maybe thought he was in a little bit of trouble, is now battling hard with Jason Gotter. Gotter trying to hold the outside around the horseshoe, which can be done. He has the inside for the sweeper. Do they want to go side by side through here? They are going to elect not to. Crane's going to try around the outside here. Oh, Marcus Deck's around. That was our... Oh, my goodness. That was our GS class leader. So now that means Shinya Machimi and Jeff Sexton going side by side are now battling for the lead of the race. My goodness. It's all going off in the GS class once again. It's Graham Sanders as well, right in the middle of this top 3 battle.
Tell you what, it's looking good for Mashimi and Sanders, though, because Mashimi took on 8 seconds of fuel under caution, and he's now at the lead of the class. Sanders took on 9 seconds of fuel. He's there in third, stalking Sexton, who is, you'd have to say, going to need 9 seconds more of fuel at his remaining pit stop.
Yes, indeed. And he'll probably be hoping for another caution in order to do that. Here's a building optimization systems replay. We'll see what happened to Marcus Deck up here in the effective lead of the GS class coming down into turn 1. And oh, that is so frustrating. And he's right in the middle of the track too. Oh, and actually made a bit of contact there with Shinya Machimi.
It's such a tough spot to be with that wall at the inside of the corner. You know, you don't want to be parked there because you're on the racing line, but also anytime you grab reverse gear, it's tough.
Yeah, it certainly is. Here we go. 4-way drafting here. Jeff Sexton with the overspeed. Machimi has damage, I think. And Marcus Deck with more damage. Going to try and retake this position from Jeff Sexton, but they're going at 3 at once into turn 1. Shinya Machimi makes his way back out ahead. We're going to have to take a replay because something else has happened out on track.
It's Caron.
And it is Andrew Caron. He is out of the race, we're hearing. So what's happened to him here? Andrew Caron would have taken the championship from Brian Lockwood if he finished in the top 3. But it looks like he's not going to be able to make up that gap. Still waiting to see exactly... Oh no, just caught the grass and couldn't get it stopped. Getting into the tyre barrier. And that is damage that Andrew Caron certainly did not need. So, looks to us... Yeah, that's a retirement for him. And it seems that Brian Lockwood is going to be an absentee champion in the GS class.
It was looking like Caron's to lose. It really was coming into this round. And this is what happens time after time is... The unpredictable happens, and I don't think the unpredictable is done in the GS class.
Neither in the GT class, because Boyson stopped on the track. He was. My goodness, what happened to him? Let's have a look. Thanks to building optimization systems once again. So he was chasing down Robert Harris coming into the bus stop. Was this just a self-spin? Yes, it was. Little bit of instability and clobbering the outside wall for good measure. That's big damage for Boyson, and he's going to have to get a tow thanks to that. Big shame for Boyson.
That's the Achilles heel of those McLarens, though, isn't it? I mean, we saw lap 1, that death wiggle on the rear of the car for Drillica. Now we see it for Boyson.
And how good is this lead battle in GS that it has become? We have lost our main championship protagonist, but Marcus Deck leading this long train of cars that seems to have some trouble figuring out where everyone's going to go coming into turn 1. Jeff Sexton has been nice and consistent in this group, staying in that second place and keeping up with Marcus Deck, but Shinya Machimi, Graham Sanders, and Luke Wojciech all jostling for those positions with the draft.
Certainly they are, and again, in this pack, we've got all 3 strategies. You've got Deck and Sexton at the lead, who didn't pit. You've got Machimi and Sanders, who just took fuel, and behind them, the drivers who took tyres.
Indeed you do. You've got John Botifer and Sam Holden starting to creep up on these guys as well. It's going to be an interesting battle when that eventuates. Meanwhile, in GT, this is the fight for third. It's currently headed by Garrett Thompson, but Jason Goddard and Adam Crane fighting hard with each other in the infield. And they are being chased down by the championship leader, Racine Fazui. What Racine needs to do is get ahead of these guys. Robert Harris is walking away. And Harris, remember, is the guy that Fazui is fighting with to secure the title.
Indeed. So keep an eye on all these battles as we approach 1 hour to go. We've had 75-minute races. We've had 80-minute races. I remember this is our longest race of the season to bring it home.
Here's Shinya Michimi chasing down the number 100 of Graham Sanders. He's currently running in fourth.
I think Mishimi must be well wounded because I think his straight line speed is missing a little bit. He caught that big side swipe from Deck, and while I can't see a whole lot of damaged panels, there's some dents here, there's some dents there, and he was at the lead of the pack, and he's hanging with them, but it's going to be a tough slog for Mishimi.
Yeah, it certainly is. Meanwhile, here's Jason Goddard up at the front of this train, and Adam Crane going for the big lunge around the outside of Garrett Thompson, but Thompson going a bit deep, and a problem for Tyson Meyer just up ahead of these guys. He was in the lead of the GT class, so what has happened to him there? I get a feeling it might have been a self-spin in turn 1. Let's have a look. Yeah, front left wheel just lifted off the ground, and the big weight transfer, a bit too much weight on the rear, overwhelming the tyres. Fortunately, he managed to get it going and avoid making contact with anyone like we've seen before, but that's certainly not what Tyson Meyer needed.
There obviously is a bump there into turn 1. It's caught out a couple drivers. You see especially the GS class cars bouncing over it. Kind of what I think caught out Deck earlier as well.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. Well, the fight continues for fourth place. Garrett Thompson defensive against Adam Crane, but Crane with the overspeed once again, and that is position secured nice and easily for Adam Crane. And if he gets this exit right, he's going to have a nice draft off the back of Jason Gotter to maintain that momentum. Little far back to make a move, though. Let's have a look at Racine Fazui as well. He wants to make his way past Thompson. Unfortunately, out of the draft a little early, so doesn't have quite as much overspeed as he could, but looks like he's going to at least have a go at this into turn 1. Thompson's going to still maintain the inside. He's going to take it nice and easy into turn 1, but Fazui round the outside, not successful with the move at the moment, and this is going to cost Fazui time now. He's going to be unhappy with that, but he has the inside for the hairpin, and it looks like getting the move done nicely there. Unfortunately, not helping him in his pursuit of Robert Harris up there in the lead of GT.
No, it took a couple corners to do it, but he just kept that nose around the outside of turn 1, and that was enough to give him the space. Poor Garrett Thompson's going to be a bit of a punching bag. He's lost out to Crane. He's just lost out to Fazui. Now he's got recovering Tyson Meyer right behind him as well.
That he has. Well, Crane a little bit closer to Jason Goddard this time around.
Fazui problems.
Oh, really? Some problems for Fazui? Yes, actually. He's disappeared from the circuit. Might be technical issues here for Racine Fazui. Hopefully he can return to the track soon, because that will define the title, as we've seen
around the outside.
Yeah, around the outside into the bus stop. That is certainly brave, but not impossible.
No, it was obviously a good run, and he's got a lot more confidence there than and Garrett Thompson appears to have. Seeing Racing Fazui drop down the timing order, still no confirmation there.
He's out of the server.
Yeah.
Out of the server, so at the very least, Fazui is going to lose minutes of time versus Robert Harris. So we might have just seen the GT title be decided by that. With 56 minutes to go in the race. So that obviously promotes Jason Goddard and Adam Crane into the effective podium positions now that Fazui is no longer pursuing them.
Goddard and Crane qualified 9th and 10th.
That's insane, man. The run that they've had so far has been nothing short of spectacular, I have to say, in these two Mercedes. You've got to remember that Crane is already pitted as well, so he could potentially be on for an excellent finish out of this. Harris still has to pit, remember?
Crane goes
Harris
down low off the banking as well, so they're side by side here. Crane has what I think is the preferred line there, the shorter way around the speedway, the inside line for the bus stop. Do not see any signs of Goddard giving it up just yet, though. Tyson Meyer has the buffet of the slipstream behind, and I think Crane just makes that one work, goes out wide, kills a couple cones, does some of the mowing as well. It's a real shame. Maybe he should have given that one up a little bit earlier, but good on him trying for a bat.
And there's a move around the outside for the big bone Porsche, Luke Waterjek, but coming up against a big defense now from John Botifer, trying around the outside of the hairpin. Botifer not willing to give this up. He's been fighting with the big bone cars all race so far, and this lap seems like it's more of the same for him. Side by side into the left-hand kink. How do you go? Has to let him go through there, but certainly not over between these two. They got the oval to come up once again on this lap.
Goddard is on the lane now. 54 minutes to go. This could be a stop to get him to the end. If it's not for repairs or other dramas, he gives the steering wheel a bit of a wiggle there. So everyone who pitted under the safety car, under the yellow, we said didn't think they were in range to get to the end, but now they would be. So 25 seconds from Goddard, I think he's going for an early stop, get to the end from here.
Yeah, well, it makes sense that he would do that after the mistake he made at the bus stop. If he was going to lose all of that time, might as well come into the pits and get the stop done while he has the opportunity. So we'll see how Gotta goes towards the end. But Botifer has no intention of leaving Luke Waterjek alone here. He remains in the big bone sandwich, but with the positions of the two cars reversed. Now Sam Holden is the one following them. It's a nice draft down the front stretch. We're seeing that Racine Fazui has reconnected to the server. So we'll see how he manages to go, and that is a big, huge draft from Sam Holden, getting up alongside John Botifer into turn one. Trying around the outside, it's not going to work for him. They've got the GT leader coming through too. Slight bit of oversteer for Sam Holden, and he has got that Team Tortuga Audi coming up on his right. Side by side between Waterjek and Botifer. Waterjek having the inside line here now for the hairpin. Oh, careful!
Crane and Caron when they tried that. Harris has to wait. It's costing him time, hand over fist here.
Yeah,
but
he
he
can't
has
find
to
a way
wait.
through. He can't find a way through. This he's got the better acceleration here down this stretch. He's going to go up the inside there, but being held up for 3 corners in the infield, it's something that happens a lot at Daytona. But yeah, a 3-second gap that's just gone, just like that.
Harris is in a must-win situation right here. Olivia is basically a retirement. Fazui is 3 laps down. It's been pointed out by Carlos Villa that if the other contenders don't finish, Harris needs to win to take the championship, and then only by 3 points. So I think that's why we might see Fuzui rejoin, is if he can be a classified finisher with any number of points, that might just be enough.
Yeah, might just be. We'll see how that works out, but it's been a problem for Chris Uglietta in Sector 1. He was running in the top 10 in the GT class, but just overshooting a little bit into turn 1, trying to get the power down nice and early, but a bit too wide on the exit and just catching the grass with his right rear into the wall.
Normally you think that wall is to protect cars in pit exit coming onto the racetrack, not vice versa, but that is just unfortunate, showing that the grass is still very, very deadly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Tyson Meyer has managed to catch up to the back of Adam Crane here, and this fight between Botifer and the Big Bone guys has just really heated up.
Thompson went past 3 wide, and somehow it did not end in disaster. There's a flash of the headlights from a bunch of the Big Bone cars who are not happy with it.
Botifer, he's caught the grass and he's around. Can he keep it out of the wall? No, just smashes it with his right rear.
Needed left hand down going backwards across the grass, and he just didn't get it.
Big shame for John Botifer. So that brings to an end that fight with him and the 2 Big Bone Porsches. Racine Fuzui, meanwhile, our championship leader, has returned to the circuit, and he's in 12th place, so he is going to get points. Robert Harris, well, he seems to be in trouble for the title now.
There's still 15 minutes to go, Reese. Just careful.
Yeah, of course. I'm just, I'm saying things as they are at the time they are.
Yeah, fair enough. Crane gets balked a tiny bit by Mashimi on the exit of the bus stop, but, you know, that is how it is. Maya not quite close enough to challenge, and Maya's almost coming out of the slipstream in places here.
Yeah, part of that could be to do with engine cooling as well, but I don't think that would be a problem for Maya at the moment. He is very fast, though, versus Crane. Last few lap times have been nice and quick, and they come up to some traffic now as well. Jeff Sexton and Graham Sanders, these guys 2nd and 3rd in GS. They managed to get by them cleanly. Both of them go wide, and Sexton taking the opportunity to go to the inside as we see Garrett Thompson in the pit lane. So perhaps one of the first, aside from Jason Goddard, of our GT runners to take a regular stop. Oh no, Jeff Sexton into the back of Graham Sanders. Oh no. Fighting for 2nd and 3rd in GS, and now Sanders unceremoniously dumped.
Well, we were on the right camera at the right time for that one. I'm not sure the offboard camera is going to tell a particularly different story.
We'll wait and see here. Jeff Sexton, just very hard onto the brakes. I'm not sure if Sexton braked late or Sanders braked early, but either way, it hasn't been the first time Sexton has gone into the rear of a car this season. He'll certainly be unhappy with how that turned out, but he maintains 2nd place in GS.
It did immediately remind me of the mistake Sexton made that took Fuzui out of the lead at Barcelona.
Yes, indeed. Well, race control will undoubtedly be taking a look at that, and Sexton carrying a bit of damage to the front of his car, and he's going to go straight into the pits and try and get some of that damage fixed while perhaps getting a new set of rubber on his car as well. And race control haven't wasted any time. Jeff Sexton has just been black flagged for that incident, so I think he might have to stay in the pits for a few seconds longer this time around. Meanwhile, 2 drivers that we haven't focused on so far in GT, Mark Noski and Aaron Ackles. Aaron trying to fire one up the inside into the horseshoe, but Noski being resolute in his defense so far for 4th. Yeah,
certainly is. Noski was I think maybe the only GT class car that took fuel and tyres under the early safety car. So that might actually be paying off well for him here. I mean, double stinting the tyres on GT3 is not something people often do. So I think the drivers who've set themselves up to have to go 90 minutes on the tyres might start to fade towards the end. Noski, though, has tyres in a little bit better condition than others, including Ackles right behind him.
Yeah, certainly does. So he'll be using that to his advantage, particularly in the infield. But Ackles still in the draft, so there's a lot of harassment to come, I think. Meanwhile, seeing that Sam Holden and Graham Sanders have started running with each other, coming through the bus stop. So all three big bone cars are now in 3 consecutive positions. Obviously, not the circumstances that they would have liked. But they do have a podium, though, in the running at the moment. So not all bad. Oh, hello.
Yep.
We have...
From the lead, Marcus Deck is on the lane.
He's going to try and get some of that damage repaired. Looks like his front bumper changing shape. He is getting that damage repaired from earlier. The contact after he spun, and Machimi came through and they made contact. We're officially now at the halfway point of this 90-minute race. A lot of interesting situations have come forth in the first 45 minutes. We have only 45 more before we can crown our champions in both classes. And question is it going to be Robert Harris or Racine Fazui? All Racine has to do is be classified as a finisher. And here is Jeff Sexton coming through the pits, and this is a drive-through penalty that Race Control have assigned to him for the incident with John Botifer. No, sorry, not Botifer. Getting my names confused. Graham Sanders, the driver that was involved in that incident. But it's now under half a second between Noski and Ackles. So Aaron is going to have the mother of all drafts here down into the tri-oval.
So, interesting stop from Tyson Meyer. He made his one pit stop, and he made it under green, and he has taken a set of tyres and maybe a tiny bit of repairs with it. 1 minute 9 second stop for Meyer. He is behind Jason Gotter and Garrett Thompson, who are both each fueled to the end. So I think if you look at the cars in GT that are fueled to the end, Tyson Meyer's found himself back in third, and Jason Gotter is the leader. So there is all manner of different strategies out there right now. Your top 7 need to stop again in GT, including these 2 cars on our screen. And then there's a different amount of fuel that needs to be taken for some of those as well.
Yes, indeed. Got to remember that that everyone in the GT class has pitted once already. So it's going to cost the drivers up front an awful lot of time deciding to come into the pits again. And Aaron Ackles still pursuing Mark Noski here for 4th place. Very smooth in that Ferrari from Aaron. And into the draft once again. The amount of speed that you reach in the draft here at Daytona is almost 300 kilometers an hour on the run up to turn 1, and Ackles still not having as much overspeed as he'd like to make a move. Perhaps for him it's just a case of staying behind and saving a bit of fuel as well. He might have short-filled ever so slightly.
Well, he might be saving some fuel there, but he still needs another stop. So I think there's a couple of cars that are in an interesting position here. I think Noski's in a good position with those fresher tyres. Hayden Gober as well in that same position, and then Jason Gotter is in a good spot as well now that he's fueled to get to the end. So Noski in 4th, Gober in 6th, and Gotter in 8th. I think, the car's currently in the best position.
Well, we still have the better part of a stint to go before we see how it works out for these guys, but definitely keep an eye on those drivers.
Gotta, you see here, pitted 7 laps ago, 25 seconds of fuel. So he's going to get to the end.
And he's doing all right too in terms of lap time. Of course, Goddard having made a couple of mistakes so far this race, but he should be in a good rhythm by now. There is Marcus Deck running in 6th, and that's Racim Fazui making his way past him. Racim, the last running of our GT class cars.
Racim trying to get a lap back on Deck and is still a lap down to him. Such is the amount of time that Fazui lost with whatever technical issue it was that he had. He didn't wreck the car. He didn't crash the car. He could have been anything. Could have been a power outage. Could have been an internet dropout. Could have been he kicked a power plug. Anything. But unfortunately, it's cost Fazui a handful of laps. He's now just looking to be a classified finisher.
Yes, and that classified finisher should be all he needs to take the title, but we will see about that. Robert Harris is still holding the lead of this race by 8 seconds in the GT class, and Marcus Deck, the gap to the car in front of him, John Botifer, steadily closing. And Botifer is a driver that is on a bit of a recovery himself after his spin in the infield. With all of the happenings in the GS class, it's actually really helped out Big Bone Racing, because here's Sam Holden and Luke Watajek currently sitting 2nd and 3rd in class, and right behind them Graham Sanders in 4th. So Sanders hasn't been hurt a huge amount by the incident with Jeff Sexton earlier, but still, it's a good running for Big Bone Racing so far.
Yeah, indeed, a solid showing. And speaking of, beautiful weather at Daytona. Let's give us more wide shots, because that sunset is a hue to match the orange of Big Bone Racing. Maybe some purples in it as well.
Very
here we go.
Oh. Getting a bit feisty between the teammates there, and that's the scenery, the virtual scenery around Daytona International Speedway. If you time it right, you might see a plane coming into the airport as you drive through the infield, which is a great effect to have. Oh, hello. Team Tortuga GT4 going slowly there. That's David Browning. Something's happened to him in turn 1. A little bit of over-rotation, maybe? Oh, yeah, just a bit off the racing line and onto the marbles, and the rear end lost grip. Oh, I don't think Browning intended to do that.
Been very robust with engaging reverse gear and gone back a little bit too far. Little clip with the barrier.
As our GS class leader, Shinya Michimi, brings it into the pits, we should point out that Aaron Ackles, who we were just looking at there, is currently in the best position to win the Gentleman's Championship. And doesn't want to involve himself too heavily in that. Mark Noski recovering very well, and that was some good situational awareness from both of the drivers to avoid an incident there.
Yeah, indeed. So Ackles now back up into 4th and trying desperately to avoid any and all incident.
Yes, indeed. The Gentleman's Championship, another one of the offerings here in the Geodesic GoPro Championship. Even if you're not part of a pro sim racing team, even if you're not the quickest of drivers, you still have something to fight for And Aaron Ackles, taking nothing away from him, he's certainly a driver with some great talent in that Ferrari. Mark Norsky's still in the draft, but he's going to elect to go for the pit lane. Meanwhile, Shinya Machimi has brought himself out of pit lane, and he currently sits in 6th. Oh, hello. Hayden Gober.
Gober and Noski nearly coming together on pit entry there. Did Noski overslow it, or did Gober come in a little bit hot? So Gober's come from a while back, so maybe Noski was just rolling it out of the throttle a little early. We're gonna see. There's Young with a good sunset as well. It's over the other side of the course, behind the main grandstand, it seems. Here's Gober diving it down on the narrow line.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, he was really going for it into the pits. Noski was taking the more conventional line, staying in the white lines, but you can cut across them, and you won't get a penalty for it. So Gober just trying to gain as much time as he possibly could, and if anything, that is going to help him out. That extra couple of seconds that he made up versus Noski could work out to a net position for him.
And Gober was one of those cars I said in a good spot, having taken tyres under the safety car, be in a better spot at the end of the race than the cars that didn't.
Well, Gober in 7th. And Robert Harris, our GT leader, into the pits. He can feel the title slipping out of his hands, but he has to nail this pit stop. He still has to put on the best performance he possibly can, because anything can happen. Adam Crane from 2nd, bringing it in his Mercedes. So does Jack Anderek in 3rd in the Big Bone Audi. It's been a great run from Anderek so far. Started in 11th, now up to 3rd. Aaron Ackles, after starting in 7th, he is in 4th. Coming into this stop, we might expect Jason Goddard in as well, perhaps. But remember, we have already seen him come into the pits once.
Goddard's stopped under green, so he's going to make it to the end if he's got his numbers right.
Well, there goes Robert Harris out of the pit lane. There goes Adam Crane as well. Now, we'll wait and see where Jason Goddard is. He's just come across the start-finish line now. There he is. So that's going to put him into 3rd place in the running at the moment. Good run from Gotter, and Jack Anderek losing out there 2 positions. He's going to rejoin in 5th place.
So that certainly shakes out a lot of our field. They're going to have their cameras out 1st, 2nd, and 3rd for Big Bone Racing at the minute. But I think when they make their final pit stop, they're going to drop behind the likes of Deck, potentially Mashimi. But if I was them, I'd be screenshotting this part of the broadcast.
Yeah, certainly. Flying in formation are the Big Bone GS cars. Sam Holden jetting away from them at the moment. Wojciech having to make some room on the inside for this passing GT of Mark Noski. The Mercedes extra power is going to give him no trouble getting by these guys before the braking zone. Oh, hang on a minute. Sam Holden having no choice but to go to the inside here. Noski maintaining as much momentum as he can to get round them. So all up, they haven't lost that much time out of that little interaction. Still running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in GS are our Big Bone cars, but there is Marcus Deck in 4th and rapidly chasing them down.
Yeah, so Deck is fueled to get to the end. Holden, Wojciech, Sanders aren't, and Deck is only 5 seconds behind them, lapping 1.5 seconds quicker, so he's in a good spot.
Yeah, he certainly is, and we just saw David Browning come into the pits there. We're hearing that he has been having some technical issues as well, so not the best of nights for one half of Team Tortuga. We're waiting to see what Marcus Deck's lap time is on this one when they cross the line, because he set a 1 minute 55.7 on the last lap, which is good sight quicker.
It's going to be a busy time for the Big Bone Racing pit crew. All three of them on the lane together. Is this going to be a triple stack? No, they can serve individually, obviously, but all three of them taking the same strategy there.
Well, might as well pit together, and then you can help each other draft and maintain a bit of extra pace. They're joined in the pits by Mr. Botifer, but he's going to come out behind these guys, I reckon. So that promotes Marcus Deck back into the lead of the GS class, and the first one away for Big Bone is Sam Holden. And it looks like Luke Watajek has beat Graham Sanders out of the box as well. So Shinya Machimi goes by and assumes second. We have Big Bone now 3, 4, and 5. This is going to be interesting. Robert Harris is coming up on them just as they're coming out of the pits. This is going to be very interesting. A little bit of infield jostling to start things off. Oh no, that's a problem. That is a problem for Graham Sanders. Just off into the grass. He's managed to keep it out of the wall, so well done to him. Goodness me, I think we deserve a replay of that one, because Sanders was very lucky in that incident. Jeff Sexton getting promoted back into 5th place as a result of that.
It was fuel only at the stop. It wasn't new tyres for Sanders. He's just kind of misjudged where he needs to brake there and decided he'll take to the grass rather than hit his teammate, which I'm sure is the better option for keeping the peace.
Yes, indeed. Well done to Sanders anyway for being able to keep it out of the wall, because especially on the most recent version of the tyres and surface model, that grass has no grip at all, and you'd have a hard time keeping it out of the wall in other circumstances. So it was some good situational awareness from Graham Sanders, and he's managed to keep it on track with no damage, which is the main thing. Marcus Deck, meanwhile, back into the lead of this one and looking to not repeat the mistake that he made earlier. Turn 1 can be a bit of a bogey turn at this track. You're approaching it from very high speed, and it tightens up right in the middle, so every driver takes it a little differently every lap, and it's very easy for the car to turn on you there.
Yeah, Deck's absolutely got the pace, though. He's now 12 seconds clear of Mashimi, and I don't know if Mashimi's still nursing some damage there or something, but he was 1.2 seconds slower on the last lap and just doesn't seem like he's got what it would take to be able to catch Deck.
Yeah, so it seems with that the field has spread out completely. There aren't many two-car battles going on at the moment, so the race is now in its final lull stage before we get to the finish. And it's in these final 10 minutes that we're going to start seeing how the strategies have all worked out for these guys.
I tell you who I'm surprised by is how far Tyson Meyer still is from the lead. I mean, he had a long pit stop under green, but he is still back in 8th position. Now, just about everyone in class has made their final pit stop. So that's a confusing one for me. I don't know if he must have just been carrying a stack of damage that he needed to get fixed or something, but he was pitted from the lead, did he not? Or well, definitely in the lead at one point, as you can see on the very helpful graphic there.
Yeah, of course. It is strange for Tyson Meyer. Who knows? Maybe he it might have been that he entered the pits too quickly and had to hold for some time, but then that would only be a 15-second penalty, so there has to be something else.
I think it's 15, but more if you're taking pit service as well in the stop. Not sure, but yeah, very long stop for Meyer, and that appears to have been his undoing.
Either that, or he started on a low fuel load, but I can't imagine why he would do that. Either way, it means that Tyson Meyer is far off challenging for victory here, which is a shame. Remember, he is the reigning champion of the class. He's taken an awful lot of pace and an awful lot of victories in this league in races past, but this season has not been Tyson Meyer's. Taking nothing away from him, though, he is a very fast driver and certainly proved that many times over in this series. Garrett Thompson chasing down Jason Gotter for third place in GT, meanwhile. Jason just exiting onto the oval. And looks like, in terms of lap times, Garrett Thompson taking 7/10 out of Gotter on the last lap, and Gotter, unfortunately, has compromised his line through the chicane. He's going to lose more than a few tenths there. Meanwhile, Garrett Thompson absolutely nailing it. So he's going to get a bit of extra draft here from the Big Bone GS car, and that will assist him greatly in his pursuit of Gotter. So Garrett Thompson on course for a podium here. It's been a great performance from him as well, starting in 16th too.
Yeah, I mean, the first half of this race was quite chaotic, so there is a few drivers who've moved up and found their legs in the race. Thompson, big example of that.
It was a 48.9 from Jason Gotter on that last lap. Meanwhile, Garrett Thompson, a 47.8, 9/10 taken out that time. That's quite the gap that Garrett Thompson is closing at the moment. In terms of our Big Bone contingent in GS, well, Jeff Sexton is closing up here on Luke Watajek. Watajek's going to get a little bit of help here from the teammate, but Jeff Sexton, a little bit of a slide on the exit of the horseshoe, not going to help his pursuit, but certainly on course for fourth place here with a nice exit onto the oval. So now all Watajek can do is think about the defense, but he might not have time as Sexton can build up this overspeed.
Yeah, let's see what goes on here. Obviously, Sexton trying to move his way back up through the field. He's already served all penalties looming over his head, so right now he's just in a fight to try and pick up some positions. Watajek had a lot of momentum through the middle of the bus stop compared to Sexton on that occasion.
Yeah, certainly did, and he carried that through the exit as well, but now you can see Sexton is just starting to come back at him ever so slightly. It's less than a second's gap between the two of them, actually way less than a second's gap. So Sexton is staying in touch with Watajek here, but round the outside is going to go Aaron Ackles, our current 6th place runner in GT, and they've really closed up now at the exit of turn 1, and that's a bad exit from Watajek. He might have gone a little too deep. So Jeff Sexton is going to go on through, and this is going to be the first step towards a bit of redemption for the real-life racer.
Certainly see he's gone and picked off a couple of positions since rejoining the track. So now in 4th, you can see 3rd just up the road from him.
Yeah, Sexton on a very good run of pace at the moment. He was 7/10 faster than Watajek on the previous lap, and 5/10 faster than Sam Holden as well. So Sexton on a charge at the moment. He could get 3rd.
Certainly could. Not far at all that he's got to go, and much time he's got to find to get into the draft of Holden and battle for 3rd. So that's got to be the focus for Jeff Sexton.
Racine Vizui is continuing on his tortured mission to unlap himself. He's coming up behind 4th place Garrett Thompson here, and we'll see how much the draft is worth. Looks like Vizui actually lifting off here because they do have some traffic in the form of a 2nd place GS, Shinya Machimi, right there on the right-hand side of your screen. So that explains why Mr. Vizui backed off, but the problem for Garrett Thompson just overshooting turn 1 a little bit. That's not going to help him in his pursuit of Jason Goddard. Remember, Garrett Thompson faster than Goddard on the last few laps. There's David Browning in the pits again, taking tyres, it seems.
Yeah, so that's off strategy, not what we would have expected. He must have had either another problem or he's having a difficult race. Whoa, Sam Holden's around.
Oh no!
He was, I think must have been Hayden Gober who was trying to put a lap on him.
Oh,
Got to take a look at this one because I think they had a miscommunication about who was going where into the first horseshoe. Holden's gone in deep, wide, caught the grass, looped it, and lost 2 positions to Sexton and to his teammate. So I think, I don't know if they even had a problem in turn 1 between those two.
Well, I'm going back to turn 1 now. It looks like there wasn't a problem in turn 1, but just seems like there was a bit of interclass miscommunication there on the run up to the apex. Graham Sanders and John Botifer, meanwhile, going super hard here for 6th and 7th. But that's the problem that you face here with Botifer in the draft. That looks like it's going to be a nice, easy move, and he has the inside on the banking to boot.
Looked like Sanders might have given Botifer that one.
Entirely possible. We'll see how they go on the run up to the finish. See if Sanders can try and get back at him. There's Jason Goddard in the Mercedes.
Noski? It was Noski.
Oh no, yes, Noski.
I
My
nearly
apologies.
got confused earlier. I'm not quite sure why.
Yes.
But it was Mark Noski.
They both got multicolored Mercedes, but I'm kicking myself because there is a clear difference between how their cars look, and I can't believe I'm still making these errors at the end of the season. But Jeff Sexton now, having made his way past Luke Watajek up into 3rd place, is now going to be chasing down Shinya Machimi, but it's quite the gap up to Machimi now. With only 18 minutes to go, Jeff Sexton is going to need a miracle if he wants to grab 2nd in class.
Yeah, pace has really plateaued for Machimi and Sexton. They're doing kind of similar lap times, it would seem. So that is a mammoth task, seeing as both ought to be fueled to get to the end.
Meanwhile, Robert Harris maintaining the lead as he has for the majority of this race for Team Tortuga. I'll tell you what, if Racine Fazui had not made it back into the server, we'd probably be hailing Robert Harris as a surprise champion here, but it's taking nothing away from the performance that Harris has put on today. He's been nothing short of perfect for the majority of this 1.5 hours.
Certainly he stood tall where others have fallen. Done all he can do. It's looking like it might not be enough, though.
Well, he's still got a lovely gap out in front. He's facing no pressure from behind. Adam Crane is 15, 16 seconds behind at the moment. So Harris is under absolutely no pressure. All he needs to do is bring it home. Well, and there's some interesting times here.
Ooh, Noski.
Take
Jason
care, boy.
Goddard. No, But yeah, it's certainly we've seen. Yeah, he's just tried to dive down the inside of both of these GS cars, and he swoops around the outside. And I tell you what, the Caymans don't like being on that compromised line through the kink. A lot of cars like a GT3 or a prototype handle that kink, no worries whatsoever. These GT4 cars are just a little bit more difficult there. I don't know what it's been up on third here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that the lack of downforce in the GS class machines
The lack
certainly
of functional suspension damping.
Yeah, that too. It certainly compromises the amount of maximum grip you can have in that corner. So if your line is compromised, you do end up losing out a lot. But Jeff Sexton has still managed to keep the gap 0.6 back to Luke Waterjack in the draft, though. What was that, David?
Jason Goddard appears to be on the lane again.
Oh, okay. Well,
Was he
he was third. Yeah, he was third. So
what field?
looks like
14 seconds.
yeah. So I guess my supposition before was right. Jason Goddard did have to pit again. Here we go. Under a 10th now. Luke Waterjack chasing down Jeff Sexton for third in GS. Could this be a move into turn one? No, looks like he's just backing out of it. I think Waterjack rightly recognizing that it's not wise to fire one down the inside when you've still got 15 minutes to go in the race. As long as he keeps it clean and he times the draft right, Jeff Sexton won't have much to respond with.
Sexton was right at the yellow line all the way though, so he's just trying to hold on to third place here. I don't think the battle's going to be resolved until right at the end though, if it stays like it is.
Agreed, definitely agreed. You can see that a bit of a slide from Sexton as well. He does like to push the car to its limits, does Jeff? But it hasn't worked out the best for him in this battle. That's another small slide. The rears will be overheating for him. He's going to have a little bit of trouble keeping that thing going straight out of the corners, giving a little bit of an advantage now to Luke Waterjack. And that's a big draft coming up to the bus stop. Is Waterjack going to take advantage? No, he is not. He stays behind once again.
Just looming, lurking, keeping the pressure on. Is that a mistake on the way into the bus stop? I think it was for Sexton. He's all out of shape all the way through it.
Yeah, that's giving a great advantage now to Waterjack. But interestingly, still electing to stay behind. He lifted off and just slotted right back in. Oh, here we go. Maybe a bit of extra draft for him. No? Yeah, I think Waterjack is quite happy to just sit behind here, despite the slight mistakes that Sexton is making. Barreling into turn one. This is going to be a battle that we watch with bated breath in the final 10 minutes, because you can definitely tell that Sexton is having some trouble keeping the momentum up.
Fascinating place to ride from on board here with Waterjack. You know, it seems like there's quite a few different lines that can work through a couple of these corners. Have these two taken the same line through turn one or the first hairpin or anywhere yet?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, true. You do see that tighter exit. That's the thing about Daytona. It's there are multiple lines through every single corner, and I've never quite been able to figure out why, because it seems like a simple enough circuit on paper. You look at a map of the place and it looks super simple, but once you actually get out on track, you find that there's lots of little extra bits of tarmac you can use to give yourself an advantage in certain sections. There is Tyson Meyer coming into the pits from 8th position. Meyer, one of the final of our GT class competitors to take that second pit stop.
I wasn't 100% sure he needed one. It almost looks like he's gotten out of the car.
Yeah, looks like he might have. So, I'll actually double check once again. Yeah, Tyson Meyer has exited his machine. So, that's a retirement there for the Geodesic driver. Very unfortunate because, as we remember, he was running in that top 5 earlier on. Well, this is the biggest battle on track at the moment for 3rd place in GS between Sexton and Wojciech. Still no change between the two. Wojciech measuring his pace behind Sexton, gearing up for a potential last lap move.
Gearing up for something, certainly unable to be shaken. View back from the rear wing, you expect that gap to start shrinking, especially it becomes noticeable. They shift up into 6th gear, and at those speeds in the tallest gear, it makes the biggest difference. You see right there, as they started to come off the banking and onto the back straight, there is when it started to look very strong from Wojciech. Good run. Gain just tight, tidy lines through the bus stop. Seems to be what Wojciech has excelled at, and Sexton's maybe been a little bit sloppier, a little more tail happy, throwing the car in a little more.
Yeah, it seems that he likes a car that's a little more on edge, does Jeff Sexton. But that gap still incredibly close between them, coming across the line to start their 41st lap. It's been quite a long one here at Daytona. A lot of drivers have had it all to do in this 90 minutes, as we see Sam Holden on the pit road once again. It looks like it might be a drive-through there for Sam Holden. Not sure. Just straight through the lane. What has gone on there? Because we haven't gotten any news from race control about that.
Wait. Do you get a drive-through now if you cut the course and don't give up the time gained?
That might be what's happened. Not quite sure. I mean, we haven't seen any evidence of him going off the track, as we see a move for 5th place here. Jason Goddard making his way past Hayden Gober. So that Action Sim Sport Audi loses 1 position, but Goddard, after having taken his 2nd pit stop on a charge. And okay, so we're hearing it was an incident limit drive-through penalty for Sam Holden. So the administrators have set it up so there is a maximum amount of incidents you can gather before an automatic penalty is applied. Every time you go off track, it's 1 incident. Every time you hit a car, it is 4 incidents, as works in iRacing. So, over the limit for Sam Holden and getting the requisite drive-through. Look, Wojciech, with the big draft on Jeff Sexton, still electing to sit behind him coming across the line.
Slow burning action, I think, from these two.
I would definitely agree. Wojciech, we believe, working out how much of a run he needs to secure the position from Jeff Sexton. Meanwhile, Jason Gotter and Hayden Gober are not done. Gober's actually gotten back by Gotter. And Jason having to try and fire one up the inside into turn 1. He would have had a go, but down to the bottom goes Hayden Gober. Hard on the brakes coming into turn 1. Goddard's going to have to yield for that moment at least. Gober with a slightly compromised exit. It's not going to help him. He's going to stick to the inside, go defensive. He wants to keep this top 5 position. They've also got Racine Fizui coming up on them, who has now made his way into 10th.
Garrett Thompson's catching them for position as well. He's the Ferrari just behind here. So this is interesting with 6 or so minutes to go.
It certainly is. Thompson making his way past the lapped car of Lee Overton in 9th. Now he only has Racine Fizui between himself and Jason Gotter, but with the pace that Racine Fizui shows, I reckon it's going to not be much time wasted getting by Gotter and Gober. Speaking of, Gotter's actually lost out to Gober in that final section of the infield. The gap is extended.
It has. I think Fizui would like to get a lap back on these guys. He's aware they're fighting.
Oh, Jeff Sexton in the pits. Hello. This changes things.
Is it just for a splash of fuel? That's not a drive-through.
No. Okay. Just a splash of fuel. 6-second stop for Jeff Sexton. So
now Geodesic looks like a 300 IQ chess master, just sitting behind him in the draft, not giving him a toss.
Yeah, exactly. It was well executed there for Luke Geodesic, and shame for Jeff Sexton, of course, but looks like he will rejoin in 5th place behind John Botifer. Side by side, meanwhile, between Goddard and Thompson. Firing it up the inside has Goddard to protect the position. But we've seen the pace that Thompson has been capable of. Here we go, dive up the inside into the hairpin. Oh, maybe they make a slight bit of contact, but Thompson with the run up the inside, Goddard with some extra torque, extra momentum around the outside. He's going to be ahead into the left-hand kink. A little bit of a tap of the brakes there from Garrett Thompson, having to yield. Oh no, we're hearing Marcus Deck, our GS leader, in the pits as well. It's all going off now in the final 5 minutes of this race. Shinya Michimi, meanwhile, having to stay out. He certainly gained here on Marcus Deck, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Garrett Thompson, meanwhile, he has the draft on Jason Goddard. Will he be able to get by before the bus stop?
It's heating up right at the end, like you'd hope it would. Garrett Thompson had a lunge earlier in the lap. What about this time? It really looked like Goddard might also have some fuel concerns. He was, I think, rolling out of the throttle in a couple places trying to park it. Certainly he's dropped back from Gober ahead, who he was battling with. Now he's really just looking in his mirrors at Garrett Thompson.
Yeah, that he is. That's a great view from the back of the Mercedes. The sun has gone down completely now. We're going to finish at night under lights here at Daytona.
We've booked the pyrotechnic display.
Oh yeah, we have too. Can't forget about that. Wait for the fireworks when the leader crosses the line at the end. Have a look at how hard he goes into turn 1, both of those guys. But it seems like Garrett Thompson has got the line down pat there. Jason Goddard just, I think, overdriving a little into turn 1. That's not going to help him. The big bone number 27. That is Sam Holden. Of course, doing nothing wrong. Running his own race there in 7th, but Jason Goddard undoubtedly losing a couple of tenths as a result of that.
Pressure on Goddard. Narrow entry seems to be working for the Ferrari, and it still turns in, whereas if he takes a narrow entry, it looks like Goddard doesn't have the grip at the front. He also maybe struggling with the traction at the rear as well. Thompson is right with him.
He certainly is. It was a good exit for Goddard, though. The Mercedes, one of the strongest of the GT3 cars on iRacing when it comes to putting the power down out of corners. And he's carried that momentum beautifully down at the straight. But got to remember, Thompson with the better pace and with the draft coming down the front stretch. But once they get out of the bus stop, we'll see how things work out. And there's Jeff Sexton right in the middle of the bus stop. That has really disadvantaged Jason Gotter. Jeff Sexton just running his own lines, doing what he has to. But that has brought Thompson right into this now. He's going to be in the draft coming into turn 1. Don't know if he's got enough to make it work from that far back, though. Got to remember Racine Fazui behind them as well, looking to unlap himself. Well, that's interesting. Seems that Garrett Thompson has decided to back off a little bit there as Gotter makes his way past the big bone of, I believe that's Graham Sanders. So coming up on 1 minute to go now in the final round of the Geodesic GoPro Championship for 2020. In this second season. I tell you what a round it has been. We've seen some excellent battles. We've seen a lot of drivers put on some stellar performances and others suffer the most horrid luck. It's been the story of the season, I think. Up in front, Robert Harris holds a dominant lead in the GT class by over 21 seconds over Adam Crane. There's the view back from Jason Gotter once again as Fazui makes his way past Thompson. Racine Fazui is on track to be your champion despite the issues that he suffered earlier. And Robert Harris, with this dominant performance, he is going to take a very popular, very sweet victory, but it's going to be tinged with a very bitter taste, knowing that Racine Fazui has been able to keep himself running in this race and get the necessary points. We're hearing it was a penalty for slowdown for Garrett Thompson. No, saving fuel we're hearing for Garrett. So yeah, have a look at the revs coming into the braking zones. It's going to be cutting it very fine for Garrett.
There is a bunch of cars coming on the pit road. There's a drive-through penalty for Jason Gotter. Oh. There's out of fuel for Garrett Thompson. Who was it? Graham Sanders. Does he also have a drive-through penalty? This incident limit has really caught out a lot of these drivers in the longer 90-minute races. Hardly been a problem all season.
Well, there we go. Robert Harris, it's checkered flag, and he takes victory in the final round of the championship. But unfortunately, it is not going to be enough to win the title. It was an excellent performance, but we look elsewhere to see the fireworks signifying the end of this championship. It looks like with Marcus Deck on his way to take victory in our GS class and no Andrew Caron to see the finish, Deck is going to take victory here, and he is going to be absolutely ecstatic with that. But we crown the absent Brian Lockwood as our GS class champion. Ultimately, he was the one to keep it together the most and have the most points at the end of the season. Shinya Machimi, second place in GS, and Adam Crane, second in GT. Some excellent performances from those guys, and Jack Anderek taking a podium in GT. What a fantastic run from him. I reckon he'll be super happy with that performance, as will Luke Wojcicek.
Are going to battle to the checkered flag here. Gotter served his drive-through penalty. He's come out right behind Mark Noski, and we're going to have trouble calling this one based on our previous experience with those two drivers.
Yes, we certainly will. Is it Noski or Gotter in the lead? It's Noski. Let's have a look then, see if Jason Gotter can keep the draft up. He is right in it, but I don't think he's going to have enough momentum to get it done before the line. Mark Noski taking that 7th position away.
There we go. So
wow. So
I think just a lot of our drivers have struggled with just keeping the focus over 90 minutes, because we've seen just, you know, some drivers just falling afoul of that incident limit.
Yeah, very easy to get slowdowns here at Daytona, especially at the bus stop. You push a little too hard and you step a wheel over that grass. It's an instant 1 and a bit seconds you have to give up. But that is the end of it. Unofficial results. Robert Harris takes victory in GT, 22.6 seconds ahead of Adam Crane and Jack Anderek, completing the podium for Big Bone Racing. Aaron Ackles in 4th, and Hayden Gober managing to complete the top 5. Garrett Thompson finishing in 6th place, an excellent result for him. Mark Noski beats Jason Gotter to the line. Lee Overton 1 lap down, and Racine Fazui seeing the finish, crucially, 2 laps down, but by virtue of being classified, he has enough points to claim the championship in GT. And our GT field rounded out by the retirements. Tyson Meyer, 7 laps ago, he decided to bring it into the garage. Chris Uglietta and Johan Boyson out, as well as Dominic Olivier, Zach Plummer, and Jesper Drulicka all the way on the first or second lap.
And then in GS, Marcus Deck takes the win, just fitting in that splash and dash at the end to keep him ahead of Shinya Mishimi, who could have been in there in that battle. Luke Wodacek then finishes in 3rd, John Bodefer in 4th, Jeff Sexton in 5th, Sam Holden 6th, Graham Sanders 7th, last car on the lead lap in class retirements, David Browning, and critically Andrew Caron.
Yeah, very critically Andrew Caron by not finishing. That means that Brian Lockwood had enough points from beforehand to take the title. So, wow, what a way for this championship to end. It was certainly one for the ages, and I really enjoyed taking you all through that. Here at SimSpeed TV, though, we're going to begin our post-race coverage imminently. We're going to go on a very short break and have a few announcements to make, as well as driver interviews. You're watching SimSpeed on the iRacing Esports Network.
North Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford qualifying and Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into 2nd position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison. Georgia, Bill Elliott straining car number 9 to bring it home. 10 car lengths. Bill Elliott, 2-time winner of the Great American Race. On the out of fuel, Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt is going to win the Trans-South 500, his 2nd win of 1987.
Welcome back to post-race coverage here on the iRacing Esports Network. You're watching the final round of the Geodesic GoPro Championship Season 2 here on SimSpeed TV. I'm Reese Gardner and David Haynes in the commentary box with us. We've seen an excellent race to round out the season, and now we're going to talk to the protagonists of it. The first driver we're going to speak to is our race winner in the GT class. That's Robert Harris. G'day, Rob. Welcome to the commentary box. A win for Team Tortuga, so it must taste sweet, but unfortunately it seems that the championship was not decided in your favour.
No, it's well, it feels good to get the win at the final round, but ultimately it's a championship, and your team had a better season overall, so we'll end up getting that championship. But definitely feels good to get a win in the final round and end on a high note.
How was the car for you, and how was the track as well? Because Daytona is a bit of a unique track in terms of the places that we visit this season. A lot of lines, variations around the circuit, and the draft is incredibly important. So what were you doing to take the best advantage of that?
Yeah, the car felt pretty good. It brought some low downforce to the track, and it felt fine, had some good straight line speed, I felt like, and I think that helped us overall.
Well, that certainly made you come away with an excellent result, coming away with the win in the final round. Are your thoughts now turning to next season? Because you've certainly shown that you have the pace to take it and put up a good championship campaign.
Yeah, hopefully next season I don't have to miss 2 rounds at the start. Hopefully we can do a full season, but yeah, definitely looking forward to season 3. I should be back for season 3.
Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you there, Robert. Thanks for joining us. Before we let you go, any shout-outs, any sponsors? Who gets it done for Team Tortuga?
Just thank the guys at Geodesic putting on an amazing series again, and thank you guys for putting on an amazing broadcast as usual.
That's Robert Harris, your race winner in the GT class. Next driver we're going to chat to, I believe, is Mr. Marcus Deck, the winner of the GS class. David, you stood by with him.
Well, congratulations on the win here, Marcus. Tell us about that stop right towards the end. What was the strategy across this 90-minute race when the safety car might have mixed it up?
Sorry, this is Adam.
Okay. Apologies. It seems that Marcus Deck is not joining us here at the moment, but we are going to, though, take a look at... yes, okay. We will take a look at Adam Crane, though, our second place finisher in GT class, because, Adam, we've got some good news for you. You have a button box.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Over the moon.
Absolutely.
Courtesy of Pro Street Sims.
Yes, indeed. Pro Street Sims providing that button box for you, and I guess that caps off what was a great night for you, Adam, with a second place.
Yes, it was an amazing, hectic race full of safety cars and overtakes and defending, and I mean, I couldn't ask for a more fun race. For the first 3 quarters, I got caught a little bit in no man's land there with how quick Robert was. Congrats to him on the win, and also to Racine for the championship. It's been a long year, and thanks to everyone at SimSpeed for broadcasting, and Geodesic as well for putting it on.
Thank you very much, Adam. And I guess now with this second place, it's season 3 is coming up, and it's certainly started up a good standard for you.
Yeah, hopefully I'm invited back for some more Geodesic league racing fun. I'm not sure yet what the cars are, but no doubt I'm sure they'll be fun.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Adam Crane. Are there any other shout-outs or sponsors that you'd like to give a shout-out to before we let you go?
I just want to thank everyone at Cruise Sim Sport, and also my parents, who I know are watching right now and are probably pretty tired. But yeah, thanks everyone, Geodesic and SimSpeed, awesome job, and look forward to racing with you guys. Shout
out to Adam's parents. Hope you enjoyed the racing here tonight. Well, I think we'll go to in our GS class our third place finisher first off, David, Luke Waterjack.
Hello.
Welcome to the commentary box. A bit of flying information during the race for the Big Bone Racing guys.
Yeah, it was nice. We got in a decent group and were able to just carry each other, work together, try to get us the best finish as we could.
I think this was one of the race formats where everyone was definitely forced into a pit stop in the GS class. What were you thinking before the start of the race, and what were your thoughts when we got that safety car?
My thoughts before we knew we had to two-stop it, it was going to be a very, very, very long shot to be able to save fuel for one stop. So when I saw the flag get thrown early, I knew right away it's just to drive straight in. It was a free pit stop, and I decided to take tires too, and that was able to get me back to the lead pack, and I was able to carry on from there.
A lot of drafting at Daytona, some of it with your teammates, and then some of it against Jeff Sexton. The last couple laps, how did that play out from your cockpit?
It was good. I was able to, hit my marks and not worry about pushing too hard because I could rely on the draft to carry me out of it. So I was able to manage my tires and keep the car under me. The Porsche is struggling with tire heat issues recently, so being able to take it easy and rely on the draft to bring it back is nice.
And obviously, just to round out the season, a podium is absolutely lovely, I'm sure. But your feelings about the 8 rounds we've had?
Yeah, the final round was obviously my best one, and the previous rounds, it was mistake-ridden for me. There's always a little bit more I could get, but overall, I'm happy with the way it concluded. I feel like I could have done better, but it all turned out well, I think.
Well, always nice to stand on the podium at Daytona, I'm sure. Congratulations on your season, your finish here. Tell us about Big Bone, who gets it done for you guys.
It's all about, having fun and, enjoying what you do. It's the title, I think, of Big Bone. Just to have fun and take it seriously, but don't, overwork yourself and enjoy it.
Well, there we go. Thank you so much for making the time to chat with us.
That was Luke Waterjack, your third place finisher in the GS class. We have third place in GT with us as well. Teammate at Big Bone Racing, it's Jack Anderek joining us here. Jack, from 11th to 3rd. You must be ecstatic with that run.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. This league, the season's just been fantastic. And the first race of the season at Interlagos, I was fighting for P5 and kind of had that stolen from me, and it would have been my first top 5 here in the league in the 2 seasons I've been running it. And so going into this last race to, go from 11th and then all the way up to 3rd, just honestly, I'm, over the moon.
Yeah, for sure. That is absolutely fantastic for you, and things get even better, Jack, because we do have a Most Improved Driver award to give out from Season 1 to Season 2, and you have been deemed as the Most Improved Driver, so you will be getting a dash from Pro Street Sim.
Whoa! Is that for real?
It is for real. You were selected before the green flag even went, so excellent job, Anderek, for backing up that Most Improved Driver certificate. So now, with this third place and a new dash, you're well set for Season 3.
Oh man, well listen, I appreciate it, so much. Like it really means a lot. This season, going into the season, I really wanted to, kind of focus and really work towards good results and just keeping clean. Really was my main goal, and especially with the kind of change up in the cars, with it being GT3, GT4 as opposed to GTE, GTE, I knew that traffic would be much more challenging. So just kind of working on traffic management skills, trying to stay safe and work up the grid. But yeah, thank you, to all of you guys for this. That really means a lot.
Well, no worries at all, Jack, and thank you very much for joining us. Before we let you go, for Big Bone Racing, who gets it done for you? Any shout-outs that you'd like to give?
Yeah, so I'd like to give, a shout out to, of course, my teammates, Luke, Sam, and Graham, who ran this league with me this whole season. They were all in GT4, but they're just absolutely fantastic. And, shout out, of course, to the whole Bone team. There's a lot more who unfortunately couldn't run this season, but they're just really awesome guys and great friends. Shout out, of course, to you guys for commentating, and I know there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes for this league. Geodesic, GoPro, Alpine Stars, all the sponsors. Shout out to them, and shout out, of course, as well to the people who watch this, whether it be through my stream, the official broadcast on YouTube, or other people's streams. It really motivates us and really keeps us going. So yeah, big shout outs there.
Thank you very much for joining us, Jack Anderek, and we hope you enjoy the incoming dash from Pro Street Sims. You will enjoy it.
Oh, thank you so much, guys. Really, that means a lot. Take it easy, everyone.
Jack Anderek for Big Bone Racing. The last driver we're going to talk to from our podium finishers before we go to our overall champion is Shinya Michimi, who finished in second in the GS class. David, you stood by with him.
Yeah, congratulations on second place there. Tell us, were you having to carry any damage through the race?
Yeah, a couple laps after the restart, I think Marcus and I got into each other when he had his spin, but yeah, it was a little bit unfortunate. I was losing about 8 or 9k on the straight, and I think it would have been a really interesting strategy because he was a bit quicker than me, but I had the better strategy with pitting under the yellow. Yeah, I think it would have been a fun race without that.
You, to my memory, haven't joined us for every single round, but we've seen you a couple times in Geodesic GoPro this season. Your thoughts on the Cayman as a car and the championship as a whole?
Yeah, I think it's a great championship. It's run really well. Everybody's very friendly, and it's a lot of really good competitors as well. I really enjoy the GT4 car. Coming from a background of more high-speed stuff, it's kind of nice to drive something that requires a little bit more patience in corners and doesn't have as much speed. I really enjoy it, to be honest.
And winding it back to that safety car always throws a spanner in the work of everyone's well-thought-out strategy. You would have had a little bit of time to consider the strategy, but you were one of those drivers who elected to pit behind the safety car when the top two didn't. Were you confident in that move at the time?
Yeah, for sure. I was trying to gauge in the first few laps if I could keep with their drafts and save fuel at the same time, because it was really on the limit of if I just save fuel the entire race, I could make it on one stop. But when the safety car came out, it was a no-brainer for me to pit. I felt like it was completely the right strategy.
And thinking about Daytona, I mean, we started just before the sunset, finished under darkness. There's lights around here, but did the visibility change much? The conditions on track change much over 90 minutes?
Not too much. I mean, when you're driving and it's changing slowly like that, you kind of don't really notice the change. You're so focused on pushing and hitting all your marks. So it's definitely beautiful when you look at it. I think iRacing's done a great job with their transitions. It's really nice to see like the sky go pink and then in the darkness. But yeah, as a driver, you kind of just like zone it out almost and just focus on your driving.
Well, second place, want to congratulate you on that. Are we going to see you again in Geodesic GoPro in future?
Let's see. I'll have to look at the schedule and see. My real life racing will start back up here shortly, so it might be a little bit difficult, depending on when the races are. But I would really like to continue. I had a lot of fun. Like,
Leads into where I was going next. Anyone you want to thank, and where might we see you next?
yeah, I want to really just thank everybody here in the SimSpeed for doing all the broadcasts. I want to thank Geodesic and all their sponsors with the series for putting it on. Also, want to thank the team I'm with, Running Sim Sport, and all of our supporters. Yeah, when when might we see me next? This weekend for sure. I'm running the 24-hour Le Mans in the HPD, and not sure if we'll make top split or not, but we'll see. Um, and yes, usually I do the long races like that on iRacing.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for finding time to speak to us.
Thank you very much.
That's Shinya Michimi, second place finisher in the GS class, and our final driver interview of the night before we speak to Corey from Geodesic Racing. Racim Fazui joining us in the commentary box. Racim, my goodness, the heart was in the mouth. It was almost a complete ruination of the championship at the final hurdle. What happened?
Make sure your internet outlet is properly plugged such that if someone passes right next to it or someone moves something around the house, it doesn't unplug it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh no! Wow. So, take us through your initial reaction to that. Then, how much panic were you undergoing when the internet dropped?
I think my whole neighborhood heard me for sure, and my window's open. So yeah. But then I kept my cool because that's that's really why I focus on every race every week, right? I don't look at the championship from a distance and tell myself I'm gonna grab P2 that race, I'm gonna grab P3 that race. I just really look at every race. I try to do my best every race. So if I can get a margin like today at the final race for the unofficial championship. Right now, I'm unofficially championship winner. That's really great, because the situation I haven't been otherwise, I would have, I would have regretted it a lot. So yeah.
Yeah, well, nonetheless, it was because of that margin that you had the points you needed to retain the title, despite finishing 2 laps down. So either way, it's been a very consistent, very strong season from you, despite despite a few big incidents like at Barcelona, for example. It was a very strong season, and you must be very happy with your performance, even though you say that you look at it race by race, but now you can turn back and have a look at your performance across the season, and I'd say it's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it was a really enjoyable season. Nonetheless, everyone in the racing series were amazing. It's surprisingly one of the cleanest seasons racing leagues I raced. Um, because even if we had our bumps and bruises, all the guys communicate on track. We all give each other space. We all respect each other, right? So yeah, in terms of my performance, I carry my luggage every race, and I bring it to the next race, and I try to put as much as I can in my luggage, right? But looking back at the season, I really look at like the joy that I had, and I had a whole lot of fun running the Geodesic GoPro Championship.
And we had a lot of fun watching you do it. Well, after leaving Movano Racing Team and becoming a privateer after the start of the season, you come away with the championship. So, is there anyone that you would like to thank or give a shout out to before we let you go, Racim?
Yes, I want to thank you guys, SimSpeed, for the excellent broadcast as always. I want to thank iRacing Esports Network. I want to thank the Geodesic team and GoPro for sponsoring this championship and making the championship really enjoyable. And I want to give a special shout out to Hui, Alex, Alvi, Abdul, Bilal, Gabriel, Hyder, Jonathan, Rabal, Septain, Talawel, and Yusuf, and my spotter Midzi for just being out here. Thank you.
Racim Fazui finished in 10th in GT, but has enough points to claim the unofficial title for the Geodesic GoPro Championship. Driver interviews now done, and before we go, we are going to have a chat to Corey Round from Geodesic Racing. Corey, do you have us? Welcome to the commentary box. What a season it was.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, absolutely fantastic season.
Yeah, a lot of races had some quite exciting finishes, but all up, I reckon the standard of racing all up in this league was pretty high, and I definitely enjoyed this just as much, if not more, than last season.
Yeah, thanks. We're really proud of all the guys for, you know, coming together to race clean with each other. I mean, it's a much harder thing, to do than you think, right? But everyone's been great, and that's kept the racing really tight and close for all the season. And we thank all the drivers that have participated, especially for their effort in not only that, but putting in their time to practice and put on a good show for everybody.
Of course, the league also has a great deal of support from some great companies like GoPro, building optimization systems, and Pro Street Sims, providing the extra prizes for this final round. It's really awesome to see that the drivers have a lot to race for in this series.
Yeah, definitely. We've tried to give a chance to everybody that's out on track to win something week in, week out, and then with gentleman driver, and then just for participating, there's a wheel up for grabs that's going to be raffled off here now that the season's over. So there's definitely a lot of great things in the league, and we couldn't do it without our sponsors like GoPro, Alpine Stars, SimLabs, and then we have a new one, obviously, PSS and Leo, who came up big time for the league with some great donations, to the guys tonight that really made it special. Seeing how excited Adam and Jack were at those items is makes our day, and we're really happy to see that, and really thankful for the commitment from the sponsors, and especially like Leo coming in here right at the end and doing a great job for us. So yeah, thank you to all of them, and thank you to all the guys that work with us, work with me, Carlos Vila, Gel, Vigo, work tirelessly on this league with me, and spearhead most of it. So, big thanks to them, and obviously SimSpeed, our broadcast partner. You guys have been amazing. We love you guys.
Thank you very much, Corey, and we certainly consider it an honour to have brought to the public the fantastic racing that this championship offers. Well, I guess our thoughts will briefly turn to Season 3. Can you reveal anything about what Geodesic Racing has in the pipeline for the next season of this championship?
I've got to secure some funds, but all happen. Yeah, we're looking at maybe a schedule change, maybe some car changes. That's all going to be some things that we're going to take a look at, but we will be back, and we'll try to make it the same or better, that we've had for the last 2 years, and we definitely want SimSpeed to be a part of that as well.
I'm certainly looking forward to whatever form Season 3 takes. Thank you very much for joining us, Corey, and we want to give our thanks to Geodesic Racing and all of the sponsors for making this series possible. So that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, David. Man, what a season it has been. I can't get over just how much drama we've seen just in the last couple of rounds, and just in this round as well. Racine Fazui just clawing his way into the championship despite a technical issue. What a finish.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fault any of our class winners, any of our champions, and I think just about every race without fail has turned up some kind of surprise. But we've also seen a lot of great sportsmanship between our competitors. We have seen some great prizes on offer, again, not just for the fastest, elitist, most pros, but for the drivers who turn up race on race, put in their best, race everyone cleanly, and just want to have a good time. So I think the balance struck between those two has been fantastic, and it's shown.
It certainly has, and we can't forget the great performances of Brian Lockwood throughout this season in the GS class. He was not able to race tonight, but thanks to Andrew Cameron's retirement, he does take the title in GS. So that's going to be a very sweet news for Brian Lockwood.
Certainly is, going back to back, as it were, Season 1 and Season 2.
Well, we now turn our attention to the future. What will season 3 hold? We got some hints from Corey there, but we are going to wait and see. I certainly can't wait, and we thank you all for joining us for these casts of Season 2 of the Geodesic GoPro Championship. We want to thank GoPro, Building Optimization Systems, RSS, all of our sponsors from this championship, everyone providing their support, including you, the viewers. Here on the iRacing Esports Network, it's bye for now, but not forever, from ourselves here at SimSpeed TV, Reese Gardiner, David Haynes, and Jay Kennedy on cameras. It was Rasim Fazui, champion in GT, and in GS, it's Brian Lockwood.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside, both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up to him!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go! Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god! God, what?